You've been lied to your entire life, and you probably thank them for it. They didn't just teach you how to function. They trained you to perform, and they didn't stop there. They conditioned you to believe that this performance was your freedom, that your value comes from how well you obey, how efficiently you serve, how smoothly you fit into systems that were never built for your liberation. You were taught that being useful is a virtue, that being productive is a sign of strength, that being reliable, compliant, and low maintenance makes you a good person, a worthy citizen, a decent adult. But here's the brutal truth. Being useful is not the same as being free. In fact, the two often stand in direct opposition. Usefulness is measured by how well you meet the expectations of others, your boss, your family, your society. Freedom begins when you dare to question those expectations and ask yourself what you were never allowed to. What do I actually want? What do I believe in if no one is watching? What would I do if I wasn't afraid of being replaced? This isn't just about work. It's about your identity. You were never encouraged to develop a self. You were trained to build a role. You were sculpted by systems that needed labor, not vision. Institutions that thrived on silence, not resistance. They taught you discipline without desire, responsibility without autonomy, performance without purpose. You weren't raised to be sovereign. You were trained to be functional. They didn't give you a map to freedom. They handed you a script, a step-by-step manual on how to please, comply, adapt, and shrink yourself into something acceptable. And when that script made you sick, when it drained you, when you started to break under the weight of other people's expectations, they told you it was your fault. You just weren't strong enough. You weren't trying hard enough. You weren't being useful enough. But the deeper truth, the one they never wanted you to see, is that usefulness has nothing to do with strength. In fact, it often rewards your weakest tendencies, your fear of disappointing, your need for approval, your addiction to routine, your unwillingness to confront the unknown. Usefulness is a survival strategy. Freedom is a confrontation with chaos. And if you want to be free, truly free, you'll have to unlearn everything they taught you. Because this isn't a self-help video, it's a wake-up call. And I won't sugarcoat what comes next. This is going to be brutal, because freedom isn't gifted. It's taken, it's earned, and it costs more than you think. So if you're ready to stop performing and start reclaiming, keep watching. The battle starts now. Imagine a vast, humming machine. It stretches beyond sight. Rows of gears, levers, blinking lights. Everyone you know works in it. They carry pieces of the machine on their backs. Some polish its panels, others oil the gears. You were born inside it. They gave you a number, a task, and a timer. Your job wasn't to ask what the machine does. It was to keep it running. That machine is society, not as an ideal of collective thriving, but as a system obsessed with output, conformity, and control. And from the beginning you were told, the better you serve the machine, the more valuable you are. They never asked you what you wanted. They asked you to get in line. They told you usefulness was noble, that sacrificing your time, your desire, your instinct, your freedom, was a form of virtue. But to Nietzsche, this was not virtue. It was decay. He didn't call it a machine. He called it the herd, the mass of people who give up their will, their vision, their sovereignty in exchange for belonging. To Nietzsche, the highest good was not usefulness. It was becoming. Becoming what? A free spirit, an individual who creates their own values, who carves meaning from chaos, not obedience, a being who doesn't serve the machine, but threatens it. Because here's what they won't tell you. Usefulness is dangerous. It numbs you. It domesticates you. It teaches you to fear your own wildness. Nietzsche warned that modern morality was built on domestication, that what we call good often just means harmless. The good worker, the good student, the good child, the good man, the good woman. What do they all have in common? They obey. They adapt. They ask for permission. They try not to disturb anything, not even themselves. And when they do disturb something, when their instincts scream, when their soul roars, when their body aches under the weight of a life they didn't choose, they blame themselves for the malfunction. But it's not a malfunction. It's a rebellion. Nietzsche saw that most people don't want freedom. They want comfort. And society is more than happy to sell it, as long as you stay useful, as long as you keep producing. Keep submitting, keep smiling while dying. He called this slave morality, a system where the highest good is safety, meekness, and self-denial, and where power, desire, and individuality are demonized as dangerous. And this is where the machine thrives. It needs you tamed. It needs you ashamed of your anger, suspicious of your instincts, terrified of your voice. That's why Nietzsche didn't preach kindness. He preached strength, but not the brute, blind strength of domination. The quiet, terrifying strength of becoming what you are, of refusing to be a cog, of tearing the script and writing your own commandments. And that's where the war begins. Because once you stop believing that your worth depends on your usefulness, everything around you starts to break. The job that drained you, no longer sacred. The relationships built on obligation, no longer tolerable. The routines designed to pacify you, suddenly unbearable. You start to see the machine for what it is, a structure built to tame chaos, not liberate it. And Nietzsche didn't want to repair the machine. He wanted to burn it down. He believed that freedom begins with destruction, the destruction of false values, of borrowed beliefs, of inherited morality. You must become the fire that consumes what you were told to be, he might say, not out of rage, but out of necessity. Because if you don't, you will always be someone else's tool, someone else's labor, someone else's dream. And what's more terrifying, failing your boss, your culture, your parents, or failing to become what you could have been? That's the question Nietzsche left burning in every sentence, because at the core of his philosophy was one terrifying demand. Don't become what they trained you to be. Become what only you can be. That path isn't efficient. It's not profitable. It's not neat. But it's real. It's free. And freedom, true freedom, is not granted by systems. It's wrestled from them. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I should be more useful," ask yourself, to who, to what, and at what cost? Because every hour you spend trying to be useful in a world that feeds on obedience is an hour stolen from your becoming. You were not born to be a cog. You were born to break the machine. You wake up tired, not just physically, existentially, and you tell yourself it's because you didn't sleep enough, or because you need coffee, or because life is just stressful. But that's not it. You're exhausted because you spend every day contorting yourself into something useful for everyone else. You don't rest. You recharge to serve. You don't reflect. You optimize. You don't breathe. You brace. You say yes when you mean no. You smile when you want to scream. You clock in before your mind is ready, and clock out long after your spirit is dead. You stay in relationships out of duty. You accept jobs out of fear. You tolerate disrespect because you need to be professional. You overcommit, overfunction, overperform, and then collapse in isolation, wondering why you feel like a machine that's about to snap. This is not normal. This is not life. This is what it feels like to be harvested. You weren't taught how to live. You were programmed to deliver. Your attention isn't yours. Your time isn't yours. Your energy isn't yours. You've been leased out in pieces to everyone who benefits from your silence. And the worst part? You think this makes you a good person. That's how deep the programming goes. You think burnout is noble. You think depletion is responsibility. You think obedience is maturity. But it's not. It's a slow erasure of self. This is the daily face of slavery, polished, professional, praised. And you won't escape it by working harder. You've tried to feel better. You've read the productivity books, watched the motivational videos, downloaded the apps, bought the planners, built the habits. You've done everything they told you to do. And still, you feel hollow. Because here's the truth. Those solutions aren't meant to set you free. They're designed to make you more useful. Time blocking isn't freedom. It's just efficient obedience. Hustle culture isn't empowerment. It's performance under pressure. Mindfulness at work, that's just sedation. A quiet pill for people on the edge of screaming. The system doesn't want you to rebel. It wants you to cope. It wants you calm, compliant, and highly functional, even as your soul burns. And so it sells you tools that feel like self-care but function like productivity upgrades. They don't ask why you hate your life. They ask how to make you endure it without complaining. It's like putting better tires on a car that's heading off a cliff. That's why it all feels fake. Because it is. These solutions are not radical. They're pacifiers, designed to keep the machine running smoother, designed to keep you running smoother. But smoother isn't better. Smoother just means quieter, more palatable, less likely to resist. And the more together you look, the more invisible your prison becomes. No amount of breathwork will help if you're breathing in chains. You don't need better systems. You need to break the system that taught you to equate usefulness with worth. Step 1. Kill the idea that you're here to serve. This doesn't mean abandon responsibility. It means reject slavery. There is a difference between responsibility and servitude, between contribution and sacrifice, between helping and dissolving yourself. Step 2. Ask questions that make people uncomfortable. What do I actually want? Would I still do this if no one praised me? Who benefits from my silence? Am I being kind or just scared of conflict? Step 3. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Say no and let it land. Stop over-explaining. Stop apologizing for not being available to everyone. Your time is sacred. If they think that makes you selfish, good, let them. Step 4. Unlearn performance. Do one thing every week that has no utility, not productive, not impressive, not for anyone's benefit, just because you want to. Paint, walk, sit in silence, scream into the ocean, rebuild instinct. Step 5. Create rituals of sovereignty, not routines, rituals, acts that remind you of your own authority. Wake up early not to work, but to reclaim the first hour of the day. Journal not for optimization, but for rebellion. Lift weights not to look good, but to carry the weight of your own freedom. This isn't self-help, it's spiritual warfare. And it starts with refusing to be digestible. Nietzsche didn't invent the idea of resistance to structure. Machiavelli called it virtù versus fortuna, the struggle between human will and chaotic fate. In this context, virtù isn't about morality, it's about force, inner force, the ability to shape your own path against the odds. Fortuna is the world, unpredictable, violent, indifferent. Virtù is your capacity to confront it, shape it, or withstand it. But modern life flips this. You've been told to appease fortuna, to play nice with chaos, to sedate your ambition, to survive by submission. But submission doesn't tame chaos. It strengthens it. The machine thrives when you surrender, when you believe that your role is to adapt, not disrupt, that your strength is to endure, not to reshape. And so you become smaller, safer, less alive. Virtù means reclaiming aggression, not violence, but force of being. It means acting with intention, even when the world is collapsing around you. It means walking through fire with your spine intact. And make no mistake, there will be resistance. The machine doesn't like glitches. People will call you arrogant, rebellious, cold, ungrateful. That's how you know you're breaking free. Because usefulness is silent, freedom is loud, and they will hear you coming. Stop explaining yourself. Every explanation is a leash. You do not owe anyone a justification for your sovereignty. People trained to be cogs will never understand why you left the machine. And that's not your burden. Destroy the need for external validation. This is the core of your cage. As long as you need applause, you will remain performative. Practice doing meaningful things without recognition. Freedom is lonely at first, but it's real. Build networks of resistance, not comfort. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not just soothe you, who value your becoming, not your obedience. Echo chambers are just nicer prisons. Detach your identity from your output. You are not your job title. You are not your salary. You are not your brand. These are tools. Use them, but never become them. Rage wisely. Your anger is not the problem. Your silence is. Rage is sacred when directed with clarity. Channel it into creation, into refusal, into new blueprints. You don't just walk away from the machine. You build an alternative. You were not made to be agreeable. You were made to become. And every system that can't handle that deserves to collapse. Now you know, not just intellectually, but viscerally. You've seen the structure. You've felt the leash. You've tasted the poison disguised as purpose. And there are only two paths forward. Continue serving the machine, or start dismantling it. No more pretending. No more justifying your slow death as duty. No more calling obedience a virtue. Usefulness was your training. Freedom is your war. You don't get to be both. So here's your choice. Remain the product of their programming, or become the author of your own myth. Not the version they applaud, not the role they reward, but the self they feared you'd discover. Autonomous, unapologetic, awake. And that choice must be public. If this message shook something loose inside you, don't let it rot in silence. Declare it, mark it, tattoo it into the algorithm. Write it in the comments right now. I am not here to be useful, because this isn't motivation. This is revolt. Let the world know you won't play small anymore. That you'd rather be hated for your force than loved for your compliance. That you're done mistaking obedience for peace. That you refuse to be praised for your silence. Freedom is not given. It is seized. It is forged in the fire of refusal. And if you don't choose it now, don't expect it to arrive later. The machine is still running, but from this moment forward, so are you.